saying it, but it's true.
We are joined right now by Ram Braden Fiske, who is fresh off of the stage at the YouTube Theater. You were killing out there. You know, we're up here, Braden. We can't hear exactly what you're saying, but every time I'd look up and your lips were moving, the room was laughing. So you got some chops in front of a big room like this?
Yeah, well, the hard part is, you know, you're trying to read the lips of JB and DeMarco down there because you can't see what they're saying. Like,
just
you can't hear. You can't
just
hear
ignore
it
DeMarco. He's not saying anything important. I can promise.
No, it was cool though. It was a really cool experience. First time, obviously, being in the YouTube Theater, and obviously, it's really cool. I was glad to be out there.
So I asked Steve Avila this. He came up. He was here last year, kind of in the same position you were in, where he just finished his first year in the NFL, getting ready for his second year in the NFL. What do you know now, getting ready for year two, that you didn't know coming in as a rookie a year ago?
I think, you know, just being on the field, you know, see, like the live game action is the biggest thing. You know, I think coming from college to the NFL, you expect so much, but once you get there, you're like, okay, like,
is it just football? I mean,
it's
faster, bigger.
At the end of the day, it's just football, and
yeah.
you learn so much going through the process of just, you know, different schemes, you know, how to attack certain blocks, and just, you know, what you're going to see when you get out there. So now I'm so much more comfortable now, and you could see that throughout the season. I got way more comfortable as the season went on. It just, you know, my style of play and how things are going, and, you know, now I'm healthy. I've gotten, you know, upgrade the body a little bit, you know. So yeah.
DeMarco said that a few times. You know, he and I do the show together each day, and he says the biggest transition for a football player is from year one to year two, because you're a professional football player. There's no school, there's no other stuff. It's like you get to work on your body from year one to year two.
And I mean, totally, from, you know, the diet to the weight room to, you know, just the sleep. I mean, you name it. I mean, everything is upgraded, and it has to be if you want to take it to the next level. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to be around some guys that have been doing it a long time. I mean, even, you know, Cooper Kupp's gone, but talking to him last season of just, you know, how did you do certain things, you know, talking to Matthew, talking to, you know, the vets that have been doing this for years and years. So, I mean, I think that's helped the most, is just, you know, building up my own regimen and, you know, really dialing it in to, you know, how I can be the best player I can be. And, you know, I'm stoked for season two.
I bet.
What did it mean to you to come into this rookie season with Jared Verse? Because you guys have been friends anyway. The Rams made that video of you finding out that you were going to be with Jared. Like, I got emotional watching him. I don't even know who these guys are.
Right.
It was so – you could feel how special this was for you. Then you got to actually experience it. What was that like?
Yeah, you know, I think the emotions just came from, you know, how hard we worked to get to that point, and then how hard we worked that final year together. It was like, you know, this is the year we're going to make it happen. You know, things obviously didn't end the way we wanted to at Florida State, but, you know, I mean, me and him would sit together watching film. We're like, yeah, imagine if we ended up on the same team. How crazy would that be? And shit. You know, five months later, it happens. You're like, oh, wow, like, it's really going down. And then, you know, I think just the transition from, you know, being in the NFL, it made a big difference walking in with somebody you're comfortable with, somebody that you know, somebody you can compete with. You know,
I was just going to ask you, Braden.
I mean, that makes the biggest difference, right? I mean, especially in the weight room, you know, you're chirping back and forth from afar. You're on the field, you know, if I'm lining up right next to him or across from him, I was like, hey, like, let's go. Like, meet me there, beat me there. You know, I think that's kind of like our motto is, you know, who's going to get there first, but at the end of the day, you'll meet me there, beat me there. You know, who's it going to be?
Rams defensive lineman Braden Fiske joining us here on Rams Revealed. And you took me right there. Obviously, you guys are friends. You guys have been teammates, you know, in college, obviously here in the NFL. But I got to imagine there's a lot of healthy competition between the two of you guys. Yeah,
every single day. I mean, I was glad we didn't sit out there for the interview, because if that rookie of the year would have got brought up, I'd have been.
I bet. I mean, again, because you guys are both in the hunt for it.
Natural,
he ends up getting it. But yeah, of course it is.
It's natural. You know, we're friends from college, and, you know, we're competing. Every day is competing. You know, we're talking about sacks, talking about tackles, TFL, you name it, in the weight room, who's hitting numbers, whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, just constantly competing. So that was a little jab right there when he got that. But hey, he obviously deserved a great season. Great player, so I mean, most deserving. But,
do you have anything on in the weight room?
These days, my bench is getting back up there. I took some time off from the upper body, but now, you know, I think it's showing.
Well, there's your motivation. You got to watch him in the gym. You know, watch him in the weight room and then get back on it.
He's a meathead. He gets after it.
So you guys come in last year, and you in particular.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald decides he's going to hang it up. And it's like, okay, it's not just that you need to replace a defensive tackle. It's not just that you need to replace a starter.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Donald. He might be the greatest defensive player at that position in the history of that league.
Right.
And Andy and I were talking about this earlier, and I'm not making any comparisons, but it went very quickly from, hey, is there any chance he could come back to, hey, we're good. Like, it's not Aaron Donald, but we're okay. Like, the defense is pretty good. That position is pretty good.
People like us stop doing Aaron Donald watch.
Yeah.
Like, when will Aaron Donald eventually come back? When will the Rams beg Aaron Donald to come back? It was pretty clear. Like, no, they're fine. Like, they're going to be fine.
What was that like for you?
Well, it was interesting draft night because the first question I'm asked, from the media is, how does it feel to, replace Aaron Donald?
Replaces Aaron Donald.
That's what, you try to say that, but of course they got to make a story.
Sure.
But, I think I'm super proud of the group of, between me, Kobe, BY, Jared, and, just the whole entire D-line and outside linebacker room of just, there was a lot of stigma going into the season of, can the defensive line be the same? Can the defense be the same? All this noise. And I think early on, there were some growing pains. But, as we grew together, as we got better, as we just continued to attack it, I think, we made a name for ourselves. And I think as the season went on, it wasn't a lot of talk of, do they need Aaron Donald? It was more so like, hey, we got some young and up-and-coming guys coming through, and, I'm super proud of it.
Did it feel to you, because, I've been doing the pre-half and post for the Rams. This will be my 10th season. I've done it since they came back to L.A., so I've gotten to see all of it since they've come back. And especially with Sean McVay, it has been a Sean McVay offense, a Sean McVay Rams offense. They score a lot of points. Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert, just an offense. And Donald was Donald, and there's been good defensive players. Did it feel like it kind of switched last year, like the Rams' defense was kind of the tip of the spear, that was what was getting you guys going on certain days? That was the thing you could rely on, especially when you saw games like against Minnesota where you're just hammering the quarterback. Like, this is our identity now. We're a defensive football team.
Yeah, I think we were pretty balanced. But I think, maybe in our minds, we're a young defense. In our minds, let's take it. Let's do it. Whatever they throw at us, let's go. I think it was just combined effort from everybody on that field. I mean, from the back end to the front. I mean, we really got after it as the season went on. I mean, we had flying to the ball. That was a big thing. Like, the effort on our defense changed. The way we attack up front on the back end, I think – I don't want to say, like, we were the main reason because, it took everybody. But I think, it got to the point in the season, like, man, like, we're a really good unit. We can really start to take over games. And I think it started to show as, time went on. And, I think that's really what we talk about now is, like, how do we build on that? How do we grow from what we did last season? Because it took time to get to that point. But how do we, return from where we were, the final week and, build on that going into week one and just continue to grow. And, I think we got the right guys to do it. I mean, a lot of us are coming back. And, the pieces that we added with Puna and, Landman, I think, we got some really good guys out there, so I'm excited just to see, how we can build on this.
With a group it's that collectively young, that relatively inexperienced collectively, how does leadership emerge?
And I think, that's where kudos goes to like guys like Kobe and Quentin Lake of, it may not be natural to step up, but and there it was like, hey, like, they're year 2, year 3 guys. It's like, hey, like, we need you. And, as me personally, I've always been a guy that, I want to make my mark before I step in and be a crazy leader. But, I'll just – here Kobe is right now.
He's coming in.
Just, the way he attacked it this year and, took that leadership role and just ran with it. I mean, I could be more excited to see, what his trajectory is and, where we're headed.
Braden, take me through what it's like when you guys are having a night like you had in the wild card round of the playoffs, when everybody's getting home, play after play after play. What is that like? It's a feeding frenzy.
I mean, obviously that's the best feeling. I mean, when everyone's getting after it, I think you're starting to get to the time like, all right, when's my turn? It's my turn to eat. But I think we were waiting on that moment. It was time for that. I think it was just the way we had been building up to that, and I think it started to show as the season went on, but that was like our coming out of like, hey, we're going to make something happen here. We got a good squad up here.
It was a fantastic rookie year. I cannot wait to see the second year. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
That's Rams defensive tackle Braden